We're going to talk more about this deal now with France24's Douglas Herbert, who joins me on the set. Doug, this deal's being called a partnership, but it was months in the making, and it nearly fell apart, actually, a few months ago. What finally got it over the line?
It's a great question, Jeannie, because there are so many twists and turns with this deal. And if you remember, I know that things change so quickly, but going back just a few months, this deal was originally seen by critics as an extortion racket. That is a Donald Trump extortion racket. And why did critics say that? Because it looked like, basically, Donald Trump wanted to extract, to be able to take all of Ukraine's natural resources to the tune of, at one point, the figure he was bandying about was $500 billion. Take it out of Ukraine and give almost nothing in return. It was seen, in fact, what it was really billed as $500 billion they owe us. It would be debt for all the money that the U.S. under the Biden administration had given Ukraine in solidarity to support it through the war and trying to fend off the Russians. Obviously, $500 billion, needless to say, was about 4 times the amount that the U.S. even gave in aid, military support to Ukraine. All of that aside, the deal changed a lot. And the final deal that we're left with is much less lopsided, to put it mildly, than that original version I just described. Ukraine gets a lot more out of it, but why at this moment? Each side has been sort of desperate for some sort of success, right? We've had, on the Ukrainian side, they want to show goodwill. They want to show good faith, and they want to do something that they believe. They know Donald Trump is going to all of a sudden do an about-face and embrace Zelensky overnight and say, here's all the military aid and all of the weapons and all of the intelligence you need. We're on your side. That's not going to happen. But what Zelensky's hoping is that this type of deal could be a first big step in pulling Trump back into sort of Ukraine's economic orbit. That is making Trump realize, because he's transactional, right, that it's actually in his economic interest, and he'll get a lot out of this deal. And once Trump's there in that position, maybe then you can bring him even closer to drawing more favorably, having a more favorable of Ukraine in general going ahead to these elusive peace talks. So there's that. As the White House said it, they see this deal as centering on that peace process with the future of prosperity and stability and peace of a free and sovereign Ukraine. So that's how the White House sees it. From Donald Trump's perspective right now, he's able to politically spin this as basically getting payback for all of Biden's aid, even if it really isn't that. This is a future-looking deal. It's for future extraction of resources, not things in the past. So nothing that's extracted is going to be, quote, payback for past weapons and military support for Ukraine. But Donald Trump will be able to pitch that, perhaps, as raw meat, spin it politically for his base. See, we got the money back from them, or at least some of it. But also, for Donald Trump, at a time where he's exasperated, being told he needs to put more pressure on Putin, seen as too favorable to Moscow, it's a way he could also show people, look, I'm making an effort too. Look what I just did with Ukraine.
So this focuses on critical minerals that many countries want. Obviously, the United States wants it.
Yes.
But what about Ukraine and all of this? It didn't seem to get what it wanted, which were those real security guarantees.
Don't mention the security guarantees, Jeannie. I'm only being half tongue-in-cheek. The security guarantees, it's almost become cliched when you talk about them, because we continually rehash this subject and you begin to roll your eyes. Okay, what are these elusive security guarantees? Why don't we know whether they're getting them or not? We don't know because it is deliberately vague in the agreement. From the Ukrainian perspective, they would like to see this deal as at least laying a groundwork for potential, quote, security guarantees. Doesn't mean Ukraine's going to be able to join NATO. Trump hasn't crossed that line yet, or allow Ukraine to join NATO. It doesn't mean that European peacekeepers are going to be allowed on the ground in Ukraine. But what it might mean, and I have to underscore this, is it might mean at least the U.S., in lieu of cash, may be giving some air defense systems. The Ukrainian prime minister said there's the possibility in this deal that we would get some defense systems from the U.S. as part of this deal. The U.S. hasn't focused on any of that. They've been extremely vague in these security assurances. All that Donald Trump has really said is, and he's limited it to this, is the mere presence, presumably, of American corporate, workers, executives, companies on the ground, on Ukrainian soil, digging, mining, is going to, in and of itself, they're not soldiers, they're just people digging and mining, will be a deterrent to the prospect or the potentiality of a future Russian aggression, that is a Russian reinvasion. Obviously, the Europeans say that is hogwash. That is in no way going to deter a future potential Russian aggression. What you really need is a real backstop, a real security guarantee in the form of, what is a security guarantee? In the form of a security guarantee. I don't know. I can't put it any more sort of clearly than that. But Donald Trump thinks and is trying to make it look like he's giving security guarantees, but at the end of the day, it's not. It's wishful thinking in this deal, hoping each side in its own way, it will lead to something more and better.
And Doug, just very briefly, what kind of reaction has there been from the Kremlin?
The Kremlin, for Vladimir Putin, this deal is not going to work so long as this war continues. As long as the root causes of this war are addressed as Vladimir Putin sees them, the root causes being the NATO aggression at his doorstep, the Nazi government in Kyiv, the Ukraine's army, which needs to be demilitarized, that regime changing with perhaps a more friendly Kremlin, pro-friendly leader, all of these things being addressed. Until that happens, Russia is not giving up its fight because it sees no reason to, especially at a time when it's advancing on the battlefield. You cannot have these two things going hand in hand at the same time. As long as the fighting persists, no matter how pie in the sky and wishful thinking you want to be about this deal, as long as the fighting persists, i.e. Russia massively droning and bombarding missile strikes against Ukraine on a far wider scale than Ukraine going the other direction, you're not going to have a viable deal, a minerals deal. So it is wishful thinking. If you wish it enough, will it happen? Maybe. Who knows?
All right, Doug, thanks for that. France 24's Doug Herbert.